Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Nick and it's just a Honda Accord, and on this week's episode I am going to be installing my PRL catted downpipe. And while I'm installing a specific downpipe, this episode should be applicable to any aftermarket downpipe you want to install on a 10th gen Honda Accord 2.0. And the reason I selected a catted downpipe instead of a catless one is really simple. I can't stand the smell of a catless downpipe or being in a catless car. I have run catless cars multiple times in my life, and I've gotten to the point where I just can't stand sitting at a stoplight with my windows down and have my eyes water from the exhaust fumes. So the Corvette that I have is actually the first car I ran high flow cats, and it's been awesome. There's no smell. It actually passed Colorado emissions, which is really hardcore. It's almost as tough as California. And on my Accord, I want a very similar experience. And you will be leaving a couple of horsepower on the table by going with a catted downpipe, but you don't sacrifice the fumes and being willing to roll your windows down. So that's my rationale for selecting this particular piece. And another thing is that on this week's episode, I'm going to be trying my hand at a new format. I'd really like to get your guys' feedback on what you think of it. And really the new thing that I'm going to be introducing to the show is that I'm going to be doing a high-level synopsis of the pain points that you can expect for doing the install that I'm about to show. And then I'll go ahead and get into the detailed, showing you how I remove every bolt, everything that I took film of. And basically the premise of it is that there's a lot of people that watch these videos and they're probably familiar with working on cars, and they really just want to know what are the gotchas for this specific vehicle. So I want to appeal to those guys, try and give them, the meat that they're looking for, and then, they don't have to try and sift through the rest of the video to get it. For the other demographic of people that watch the show, maybe you're new to cars, or you don't have a lot of confidence, or you don't have the tools, or both, I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've taken a lot of film of doing the install, and I'm going to share it with you. I'll show you everything that I used, how I access the bolts, and so on and so forth. And I took so much video for the downpipe removal and install. It's a pretty big project. I'm actually splitting this episode into two parts. So this particular episode, I'm going to be showing how to remove the stock downpipe. On the next episode, I'll show you how I put in the PRL one. And then there will also be sound clips in that. So if you're in here to get the sound clips, you're gonna have to check out the next episode to get that. If you need to understand how to pull the stock downpipe, stick around. So without further ado, let's jump into the summary of the pain points. And there's really two when pulling a downpipe from this car. The first pain point that you gotta be aware of are the downpipe to turbo studs. There's two studs, there's two bolts. For the two studs, there is a nut, and so there are two of these studs, and you have a nut. And basically, the big risk is that these nuts can seize onto the stud. And to mitigate that, you need to hose those studs and nuts down. There's one close to the cylinder head at the top, and then there's one lower away from the cylinder head. You want to hose them down. I went out and picked up a torch, and I also heated up the nut as much as I could with it, to do everything possible to give myself a chance of success. Because if you break this, there is no room to do extraction without pulling the turbo, and you're likely gonna have to drill it out, and you're gonna have to helicoil, and it's gonna be an ugly process. So that's pain point number one you need to be aware of. Pain point number two is not really a pain point. It's just something that I actually had to buy a new tool for, and that was the O2 sensor that's on the top of the manifold. Has a shield around it, and I only had a lower profile O2 sensor socket, and when I tried to put it on to take that sensor off, I couldn't pull it because I couldn't get enough bite on the bolt. So I had to pick up a deep O2 sensor socket to pull that, and that's really it. The rest of the install is pretty straightforward. It's removing hoses and bolts, and then removing enough stuff that you have enough clearance to pull the downpipe. So that's the high-level synopsis. If that's all you're tuned in for, thanks for stopping by, and please hit the subscribe button. And if you're wanting to stick around for the rest of the video and see the whole in-depth detail of pulling the stock downpipe, stick around.
All right, so I'm going to start off by disconnecting this harness, and there's a bolt here and a bolt down there that holds this bracket together. Let me take a step back. I need to pull this inlet, and I'm also going to pull the silicone hose off that I just installed for the intake. Tight fit in here. Let's see. Yeah, well, that's easy. Here. There we go. I got access to a couple of these bolts. There we go. Getting there. I need my Ooh. That hose is on there pretty good. Whew. Man. That was a tough one. And first blood is drawn. Alright. It's officially a car install. Some squeezing on the bottom of this to the wastegate. And it's right 10. One down. And we got this little bracket in the way. Gonna need the shorty. Something more low profile. So I'm just getting this lower 10mm bolt. It holds this bracket to the inlet. Okay, so now this is free. And both hoses are free. That harness is free. So now I'm going to try and get the two bolts on both sides of the inlet that mount So I'm just getting this lower 10mm bolt. It holds this bracket to the inlet. Okay, so now this is free. And both hoses are free. That harness is free. So now I'm going to try and get the two bolts on both sides of the inlet that mount to the turbo. And let me just, if it helps you to see it, you can see that shiny bolt in the center of the screen, and the other one is going to be somewhere. You can kind of see it. I'm gonna have to use an extension, but yeah, it's hard to show you. You can't really do that. So this one, much easier to get at. That's for sure. And I went ahead and pulled my engine cover for a little bit more room. Okay, actually, I'm up against a bracket. I didn't notice that. Get this thing out of here. Let's see here. So we got a ways to go. These bolts are pretty long, so I think they're probably about 1.5 inches long. Okay, there we go. And now I'm kind of done. I love when the landscapers are here while you're working on your car and trying to film. Apologies. Okay. Okay. And at this point, the inlet looks like it's free. try and see if this guy will come out, and there we go. Let me see if I get any play by loosening the heat shield. It's got to come off anyways, and it is a 12. Okay, I got one more on the side here. Okay. Any more? Looks like there's one more right at the front here. Yep. Fumble. There goes the screwdriver. I'll get that when I take the pan off underneath. And this one's a little awkward. There's like a cover in front of it. I was hoping I could crack this loose and then slip my flex head down there. Cracked loose. Can't really reach down there either. Yep. All right, so I had to make my tool run and ended up picking up this deep O2 sensor socket that has this cutout in it, so you can tuck the wire to the side, get it firmly seated on top of the O2 sensor, and crack it loose. Maybe. Ooh, my. Glad I ate my Wheaties. And that's pretty much it. Once it's cracked loose, then you're golden. And now the fun can begin. So now I can pull this heat shield off. And a little tight. Trying to navigate it out of here. Yeah. I'm just about there. There we go. And I'm gonna stare down what most people dread here. These studs. And it's particularly this one here and the one down here. I'm gonna go grab my PB blaster. Sure, this thing drips. It's not dripping on anything you care about. It reeks, but can't see that fourth one. It's there though. There, I can feel it. So at this point, you want to do everything possible to give yourself as much chance of success as you can. So I'm gonna take my little pick here and just kind of work around the threads a little bit, hoping that any corrosion, maybe I'll get something, something that makes a difference here, because there's no way to easily drill this thing out. And this one down here, at least, I don't know why you can see it on the camera, but you wouldn't have any room here. You would have to pull the turbo. And it doesn't look like it's a ton of work at this point, but it's something I'd rather not do. And if you do happen to be watching this, definitely do it at your own risk. And don't forget you have to clean this stuff up. Stuff just reeks. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and so it's not the best idea to work with fire without protection. I'm not sure PB blaster is going to flare up or splatter or anything. I'm going to go ahead and put on some safety goggles. And and in addition to that, I'm going to try and make sure I just have everything ready to go. Ideally, you don't want to be handling a nut that you're cooking. You want to have just everything ready to roll. So I'm going to heat this nut up. if this torch has the heat that I need, but you know, gonna find out how things go. Okay, so I'm getting just a little bit of turn. I'm gonna tighten it, or I'm gonna spray it. Okay, now I'm gonna tighten it a little bit. Just that little crack, or not. Got a little bit. So far it's moving very well, moving fantastic. Oh man, I think I might have, I don't want to jinx it, guys, but things are looking good. Oh, last thing I want to do is melt my plastic cap down there. I'm pretty happy. Didn't do anything extra special. And oh yeah, it's coming off like butter. This is the part where I like somehow find a way to burn myself. Set this guy down there to cool off. Sweet. I'm not going to be able to hit the other one with heat, but squeeze. I didn't put this up on jack stands. I just did on ramps today. I didn't think I'd need the clearance. Okay. So, and there's a couple more back here that I'm gonna have to pull. Let's see. These are Phillips back here. One more. Alrighty, and let's see. Oh, they got another one up on the side. So they did two of these clips. So looks like there's a total of, I'm guessing 6. Because there is, yep, more here. Hands off. Uh-oh. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and try and get this guy free. Just to my son pounding on a box. Sorry for the audio, guys. It's just, you know, when you're a dad and you do half your projects with your son, it's not going to be the quietest environment. So, and that's fine. I love it. But for people watching this, you might not love it like I do. So, all right. So that's free. And one down. One to go. I don't have this dumb shield that I did on the top, so I have to battle through. Next thing that needs to get pulled is this 15 millimeter, or 14, excuse me, these two bracket bolts. So I'm gonna pull those next. It's hard to see. Another thing is this bar. I can tell already it's gonna get in the way. So it's bolted here, and it's gonna be bolted here through this hole in the splash guard. I'm gonna pull this bar out to get the clearance I need. So as I said, I disconnected the two 14 millimeter bolts. Now this bar can be snaked out. And that's just gonna give me more play, more room to be able to access everything. Now I'm gonna go ahead and would help if I had a screwdriver pushing on that, but I'm gonna disconnect the wiring harness. It's tethered at 2 spots. You can see up there, and I'm just gonna use a screwdriver to press on it and pull it out. So at this point, it's time to get underneath the car and play operation and try and slip this thing out of there. So hopefully that's not too much of a task, and I'll bring some paper towels with me because PB Blaster is inevitably gonna spill like all over my face. I'm so fond of it. Oh man. All right. Whoops. Excuse me. Oh, speak of the devil. PB Blaster dripped on my elbow. I called it. It's an acquired taste. Okay, so I'm not sure how well this is gonna come out again. Apologies if it's not the best angle. Okay, so that cross member getting pulled was a good idea. Oh, snap. And, oh, I guess I had dropped a socket earlier. Didn't notice. And just about tattooed me in the dome. All right. So first leg of the install is done, which is good. Now,
so that is going to wrap it up for this week's episode. I will be coming out with the follow-up very soon on how I installed the PRL catted downpipe, you know, how I assembled the spacers and show all that technique. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button to the channel. It would be much appreciated. And if you haven't already given me a thumbs up, please go ahead and smash that thumbs up. If you have any comments, and I'd really like to get your feedback on, if there's anything I could be doing that could help you get more value out of this show, I'd love to hear from you. And if you're not comfortable posting in a public forum on YouTube where the comments can be a little rough at times, you can shoot me an email at justahondaaccord@gmail.com. So that's all I got for today. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Take care.